Hi class, I hope everybody is doing spectacular today. So today we're going to be learning about a very remarkable, important woman that you should all know about. This woman is a very important civil rights activist who helped change the lives of millions of African Americans in our country. She helped our country see the importance of being kind to your neighbor, and she was brave enough to take a stand against the injustices that she and her family faced every day, along with thousands of other African Americans. So the person we're going to be learning about is Rosa Parks, as you may know her. Rosa Louise Macaulay Parks is her full name, and she was born on February 4th, 1913 in Tuskegee, Alabama. That's 109 years ago. Even though Rosa Parks lived so long before all of us, her story is so important to share because it reminds us of how important it is to stand up for what is right. And it shows us young students that you have the power to make amazing changes in this world. So when Rosa Parks was alive, there was sadly a lot of unfairness and discrimination in our world. Unfortunately, white people believed that African Americans did not deserve the same rights or the same treatment as they did. And many white people treated Black people terribly, and they believed that their lives mattered more than Black people's did. And they would force them to use separate facilities like restaurants, bathrooms, drinking fountains, or any other public place. They even made African American children attend a separate school from white children. Our world was really unfair and very unkind to African Americans and to other minorities during this time. And it took some very courageous leaders and advocates to help make everybody understand the importance of treating each other fairly and loving your neighbor no matter what the color of their skin is. So Rosa Parks lived a very difficult life in Alabama. There were laws and rules in place that kept her and other African Americans from doing most things alongside with white citizens. These laws were called Jim Crow laws, and these laws claimed to give African Americans separate but equal treatment and status. So this really meant that Blacks and whites were supposed to, that Blacks and whites would be kept separate from each other in society, but that the facilities that they were offered and their status would remain equal to that of white people. The problem, this didn't really happen. The truth is there was really no equal treatment at all. And this unfairness inspired Rosa Parks to take a stand and advocate for what she believed was right. She joined the NAACP, which is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and she worked within this organization to enact change in our country. She became an established organizer and leader in the civil rights movement in Alabama. And she really just was motivated to stand up for what she believed in and to stand up for equal treatment of Blacks and whites. So on December 1st, 1955, that's a long time ago, Rosa Parks was riding the public bus and sitting in a seat when the bus filled up, and she was told that she would have to give her seat up to a white man. And understanding that this is not fair or right, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat, and she said that the law was unjust. Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat led to her being arrested because technically she was breaking the law, even though she was doing what was right. So I'm going to read a quick quote from Rosa Parks about her experience. Two policemen came on the bus, and one asked me if the driver had told me to stand. He wanted to know why I didn't stand, and I told him that I didn't think I should have to stand up. I asked him, why did they push us around? He said, I don't know, but the law is the law, and you are under arrest. Rosa Parks was ordered to pay a fine for being arrested, and she refused, and she argued that it was the law that was wrong, not her behavior. So news ended up spreading of Rosa Parks' arrest, and the Black citizens of Montgomery, Alabama, came together to stand up for Rosa. They agreed to boycott the city's buses in protest, which caused the city's transportation service to lose a lot of money because African Americans made up most of the city's bus users. So they didn't have all of that money coming in from the African Americans because they were choosing to walk or to carpool to get where they needed to go. So the protest really did prove to be effective because it hurt the bus system so much, But it really was not easy for many African Americans because a lot of them didn't have cars or they would have to travel long distances to get where they needed to go. And not to mention, white Americans responded to this protest with a lot of anger and even used aggressive and dangerous acts of violence against African American community. So through all of the hate and through all of the struggles, the protesters stuck together. And after 381 days of boycotting the buses, that's over a year, it was decided that Alabama's racial segregation laws were unconstitutional, which, like you may have learned in social studies class, that means that they were not valid and would not be recognized. So the Jim Crow laws against African Americans were erased, and segregation, or separating people based on their skin color, was made legal. Rosa Parks became known as the mother of the civil rights movement because she inspired such a big movement that made an extremely important change in our country. And Rosa continued her work of promoting civil rights and helped other people suffering from discrimination and injustice along the way. So there really is a lot that we can learn from Rosa Parks as a class, and just as a society as a whole, everybody can learn from this story. She taught the world a very valuable lesson on December 1st, 1955, when she refused to stand up from her bus seat. Does anybody know what that is? So the lesson to gain from Rosa Parks is to stand up for what is right, even if it's not the norm. We all deserve to be treated fairly and kindly, and that's what Rosa Parks wanted, and that's what she was fighting for her whole life. She teaches us that we can stand up for what we believe in by not tolerating any acts of hate or injustice or oppression. And I hope that Rosa Parks' story really inspires all of you to speak up when you see that somebody is being treated poorly or unfairly. And I hope that her story inspires you to be brave enough to stand up for what's right and for what you believe in, and to always practice kindness and acceptance every day. I hope that you see just how important the changes that Rosa Parks made that day when she refused to get up out of her bus seat, knowing that it was unfair. We all have the ability to make small differences in this world. And I hope that one day that you can all find something you're passionate about and be motivated to advocate for a change. You children are truly powerful beings, and you have the opportunity to use your voice for good. So be brave and stand up for what is right, even if you're the only one speaking up. Thank you so much for being so attentive and actively listening to my presentation today. So I challenge you all to think of the people that you know, who you have seen stand up for what's right, and to stand up for others and advocate for what they believe in. And if you can think of any people over the weekend, write them down and we can share them as a class when we get back together on Monday. So I hope you guys all have a great weekend and enjoyed this presentation and have some thoughts to think about as you reflect on this presentation this week. Have a good day.